Yes, there. Hey, everyone. I want to give you a daily fantasy sports guide today. So I would just want to first, of course, make sure I have my internet set so I can show you a few things. But the purpose of this video to get real quick into it, I'm not going to take a long, hour-long instructional type thing, even though I could. But this is really set out for not really so much beginner. Well, really, it is a beginner because you may know how to, play on FanDuel and play before, but have not won. And so I want to take you through somewhat systematically here how to go about making sure to get some wins in the daily fantasy baseball space here. And this is content and information is found on my site at wealthyfantasyfootball.com, at least for these videos, not all of them. So try to get some lineups set daily. But we're going to use today's lineups, the main slate, as we look at here, some of the lineups we want to consider, and some watch plays and players and things like that. When you look at the metric factor of how you're looking for consistent plays in fantasy football, if there's a lot more players of that sport out there, where you look for consistency, hopefully is what you do, so that you can get some consistent wins, so that you can obviously win week to week, more so in a a season long format on Yahoo or something like that. But with the baseball here, since there's a lot of interest in more so with the daily type thing, because you can enjoy playing for cash and things like that, and in tournaments. This is why we have considered really in any sport low risk proven players. And what I'm showing you is a draft dashboard. Of course, you can get download this tool. Well, it's not a download; it's just something you can pop up on your phone. It works just as well, except it doesn't. There's only a couple lines here. It doesn't show on format on Android or iPhone. That's just the AB, which is at bats or innings pitched. It doesn't show this column here either, the WOPS, which just has. But you can still find the info for the WOPS here if you just hover over, and the black screen will show you some more statistical numbers. So let's say you really know nothing. You know basics about baseball, but you really don't know about where to begin and where to start, let's say, to create a successful lineup. Now, in these low-risk proven players columns, though, now you can trust that these pitchers have been consistent based on the numbers of daily fantasy points per game. With Strasburg and Gibson, they're not exactly, it's not the greatest pitching slate, and they're not really aces, especially, not Gibson nor Freeland. And especially in Coors Field, this is a park factor consideration versus Milwaukee tonight. But, however, it's just going purely by the numbers that they have been scoring. You can look at their scoring log right here, past 10 games, that, Freeland has quite a good basement or floor, like they say. 23 floor was a low game the past 10 games, and like Gibson, has had a 10, but his high, is a little bit higher ceiling, like they say. So you can look at their OPS versus Strasburg, obviously better, all like 100 points or a tenth of a point better, something like that. And that's why it's priced so much higher. And you can save a lot of money, obviously by going with Freeland with that floor. So already he's looking like considering him a good play. However, I don't like the matchup with the Milwaukee Brewers going into this. For example, today, as I'll just show you that there, the Brewers, he has trouble versus righties. Kyle Freeland does, and the Brewers have 7 total righties in our lineup, and this is information is coming from this plus or negative 11%. That just shows that matchup wise, it's not good versus these platoon splits. Versus this pitcher, because this is a last 3-year average, large statistical category here that we need in this information we need to look at here in daily lineups. So then going back to Gibson, if we can consider him, looking at him again, he does pretty much all the same versus lefties, righties, or even a switch hitter in the 7.37 up to 3.76 range, the highest being the switch. And there's no switch, player for the Angels. It's mostly righties, which is favorable for Gibson as a cheap play, or if you feel most comfortable looking at Strasburg, which is a possibility. But remember here, you want to look at this free site here, in considering these matchups with the pitchers, this makes it easy for myself and for you as well. When you look at the Vegas odds and scoring likely, as they consider all these factors as well, they probably even consider pitcher versus batter history. So if Freeland, for example, had a, let's just pure example, versus Milwaukee, Domingo Santana, if he was like considered, where he struck out Santana 10 times out of 20, and he had no home runs, then it would be a good matchup for Freeland. That's just part of my belief is what they consider for the Vegas odds. I don't know for sure, but nobody really knows. But I'm not really using that kind of information, like they say B versus P or batter versus pitcher, because it's just not a large sample size at all to consider in these kind of platoon or lefty righty type switches, or switch I meant to say, for these hitters. So as long as you understand that, you can get going and start it right away fast and winning successfully. So in this guide here, looking at projected run totals for the night, the Colorado leads it off with 5.76, followed by Houston, Milwaukee at the same park, Cleveland, and so on. But what I like to consider here is really strongly consider these pitchers down here at the bottom playing at home as well, these bottom three, because they're only projected to allow 2 or 3 runs, as you can see here, right down here by these numbers. That includes Charlie Morton, Lester, Clevenger, and finally Strasburg even, perhaps 3.5 runs. Maybe he'll give up 3 runs tonight versus the Diamondbacks. So he's up for consideration more strongly so now, Strasburg. However, these pitchers here did not show up in our stud list as potentially being an ace, at least not for the day. Okay, so as you can see, Stripling and Waka and some of these guys, so these are just how some things are ways, how you want to sort up. Also, you want to look at the money line and consider how much of a advantage, that they would have in actually winning. I think negative 261 is very good for Lester. You got to go to this left side column because, these are the pitchers for their team. And then Morton is strongly considered for a win, which is a plus 6 points on FanDuel, which we're playing on FanDuel. And Clevenger, and followed by Stripling and Strasburg. So Strasburg is still in the mix there as a negative 179, favorable matchup. And then below that, you get more of a riskiness in not getting the win and the 6+ points, which is important on FanDuel. Not so much on DraftKings, just for your reference. If you play there. All right, so it's like 3 points on DraftKings. So now looking down the list here, now the trick with batters is that they're going to be on and off this list every day. This list changes. I can go ahead and give you some of my most consistent plays that are here consistently. Aaron Judge, as I've seen him here on this list most days. Lindor, I've seen a lot of times on this list. And also Ramirez. And, if you just know enough about baseball, they're good players anyway. So you just want to get as many good plays, obviously, into your lineup as you can. And there's several different strategies and several different ways of going about doing this, including like if you set up, for example, multiple lineups, let's say 5 lineups on FanDuel, there's a bit trickiness to that to where if you're not experienced, you don't want to do that right away. You want to focus on 1, maybe 2 good lineups that you can set to focus and concentrate on because you need to spend some time setting and evaluating these plays for the day and then going about fitting them into a couple lineups. So we're just going to do try to do 1 here and focus on that and see how we can set it. And so, like I mentioned, those are consistent plays, going on the slate tonight, 15 games. So next I want to get into potentially finding sleepers, affordable plays for your stacks and things like that. If you want to do a tournament, not necessarily high stakes, but just a high upside win. So we can look at, and I'll just put this in order here. There's 100 algorithm just means these are the best sleeper play potentially at 100 ranking, followed by Muncy at 93. I noticed he had a good game last night for the Dodgers. I played him very cheap. I think it was $2,000 last night. It's $2,200. He raised up $200. Is a great value, Muncy, on a Dodger team. Like you can see here, even over on the right, these are my watch plays, a bullseye. So I've already watched these guys and set these. Look at these parameters here and everything. Seattle here, they have a good run total as opposed to Toronto. I decided not to watch them because they don't have a good run total for the night versus Boston and the pitcher Price. So we're not going to go looking for Pilar in our lineups. However, Kepler, Muncy, Zozino, and Healy for the Seahawks, the Mariners as well. So we can try to fit these guys to get ourselves some affordable lineup plays, even though we're not really going to play expensive pitcher other than Scherzer. So we got to most importantly decide though, and get right back to our pitcher and decide who that's going to be as we look to optimize that position here using this optimizer, of course. So here you have listed out every play, every position that is on FanDuel, from the catcher / first base to the utility spot, which is any position other than pitcher. Okay, what's going to be cool, I guess, about FanDuel is going to be doing these one game plays. Some people like it, some people don't like the idea where you can try to really stand out and position yourself as separate than the other guys in the lineup or in the contest because there's only one game, which makes it weird. But you have to choose 18 players, from both teams to get yourself some kind of a lineup in that. So we'll see how that goes. If that's something you're interested in, just keep in mind on FanDuel. It doesn't matter to me what you do, but I'm just saying, putting that out there as far as another type of dynamic to the play. If you're just watching one game, for example, want to have a fancy players and actually compete in that. But that's, I would say, for advanced players. Now, with Strasburg here, we can see we already put him in order. No, we got to put him in order first. Let's see. Strasburg still at the top, followed by Tropiano. He has an injury concern. You even get that here as well. Landed the 10-day disabled list due to inflammation in his right shoulder, but expected to be activated prior to Saturday's game against the Twins, so he expected to play. The other, consideration, even though he might allow some runs versus Texas because these plays, has some rise in a switch there. It's not a bad matchup still for Morton, so we can consider him, as I do like his floor even. Well, not really much floor, but more the upside. For the upside, we can consider him. We'll watch him. And who else did we want to watch here? Trying to get guys that are high enough up in this, optimizer to where, like, we did see them on the, either on the win list or on the projected low ERA. So you can get low ERA, on these guys here, such as Lester, Morton, we already found him, Clevenger, Strasburg, Syndergaard, and that's about it. We don't want to go too far down that list either. So we're just looking for those same guys. So we're looking at, Clevenger here. He's highly ranked by the optimizer for today. We already talked about Freeland and Gibson, but we're not really... you could do one of these guys, depending. I would do, really, for the, like I was talking about, the upside and the floor side. The upside for which these guys was greater, just looking at the last 10 games. The upside for Gibson was better, whereas the floor for Freeland, more for a cash game, is fine. Because, like I said, there's no real aces on the slate anyway, unless you want to consider Strasburg one's not really an ace. So, most importantly, like I said, just get your pitcher in there. We're going to pick, well, I'll show you how I pick out and finalize the lineup here. I'm going to get moving fast. Considering the catcher, first baseman, and just setting one good lineup, we want to consider who is the best value. So we're going to do the same thing here, order it up, as we just pick and choose one by one. Let's say we do pick Strasburg. We got to fit, obviously, guys are not so expensive. Cody Bellinger's not bad, only $3,300 at first base, and is a great value play, unless we want to drop down to Zunino for Seattle if we need that salary. So we've already got that set, that potential part of the lineup for that, and we'll just keep moving on doing that with all these. So since you already probably get an idea how to set it and do that, I'm going to go ahead and now set a lineup. Use the lineup optimizer. We can set up, for example, if we use multiple lineups, that's what this tool is also good for. You can set like 5 different lineups at the same time, but we need to focus on, more for a beginner guide, the lineup optimizer for one lineup. All right. So here it generates. Like I said, Strasburg, it did give us Zunino, Utley for the Dodgers. That's a fine play. And Duhar for the Yankees, as well as Tim Anderson. Those are not bad plays. The Yankees are projected fairly high run total for today. I'm okay with that. Dickerson, the lefty, with Kepler, looked at him as a sleeper. Muncy as a sleeper. Judge as a stud. So we have enough studs in our lineup for some, position and lineup balance, because we know we have Judge who's always consistent. We have Dickerson is really a good play. We have, these value guys with a great pitcher right at 3,500. We could actually go ahead and set this and run with it. I don't know if we're going to get any good, better value. Let's say, for example, at the shortstop, we can just check. There's no one cheaper at any value, the least that I watched. Cincinnati, I don't care for that team today, or Atlanta, not really. And we could even just look at, not very often will this happen. It just happened to happen, where it set a good lineup right from the first start. If not, I would have just changed it around. Most of the time, you have to change this around and pick somebody better, perhaps. As there's some other guys that are doing for Oakland, Atlanta, but not really teams that I'm watching for today. I'm just focusing on some of the higher implied run totals on the day from those teams we looked at. And there we go. I'm going to go with this lineup here and see what I get out of it for a what I'm going to do is mix it up, make this a tournament and a cash play, because that's the kind of lineup that this is. You can play it in tournament or cash. In fact, I would enter it into 2 contests, exactly what I would do right now on this slate, so that I can get results. Just something that I like to do. You don't have to, obviously. How it would result in a cash, like 50 player, 100 player, like 50-50, and also how the same score would do in the tournament. Likely, you're going to more than double your money. That's how you do that. So I want to give you those ideas and how you go about doing that in the beginner's guide for the daily fantasy baseball contest for today and going and moving forward. To get the tool to learn how to do all this, of course, when you come here, when you log in and decide to start using it, if you don't, it's fine. Of course, you can watch these videos daily, get at least an idea of how I set my lineups, and try to, most days in the week, not every day, but a lot of times you can find me here on the same channel or on the blog. Sometimes not really so much there, but you can go to here and just start learning specifically how they would have you use it more, preferably the draft dashboard overview, and you can watch a bunch of videos here and a user guide, which I really like as well. That way you're not kind of in the dark. You know how to go ahead and strategize and use it in any sport, NBA and NFL and all that as well. All right, so I want to leave you with that beginner's guide. Enjoy and have fun with the lineups for tonight.